Addiction Counseling Diploma program. It is really, in a nutshell, it's about working with people that are in recovery, that are looking for the support of trained counselors. Or we find a lot of our students that graduate from our program also get jobs in not only terms of working one-on-one with people, but sometimes they do group work, sometimes they do advocacy work, and sometimes they do education. Because you may know that there's a lot of myths around people in recovery. There's a lot of stigma still, unfortunately. So we find that people that do work in this field are quite passionate about working with people in recovery, as well as advocating and educating people in the public. So people that are attracted to our program are typically fairly compassionate individuals that have an interest in the field of addictions. And so there's lots of other helping fields out there. This particular program, it's more narrowed or focused, or you become more of an expert in terms of the field of addictions. So we offer, this is sort of our blurb off our college website. We offer a high ratio of student to instructor time, affordable tuition, and quality education. And what I think is really important in that statement is the student to instructor time. We do cap our classrooms at 35 students. So you would never be in a classroom with more than 35 students. And typically with attrition, or sometimes students, start the program and decide it's not for them or not the right time. We don't usually, by the end of the second year of the program, we usually don't graduate a full cohort of 35. So I find our classrooms are even a little bit smaller than that. But what that means is you get really dedicated support from your instructors, and you get to know your instructors quite well, especially in the addiction core courses. And I say that because the addiction core courses, we don't really have a philosophy in terms of, here we're going to give you a bunch of information, we want you to memorize it and regurgitate back to us. We're more about critical thinking. We're more about conversation, for instance, in the classroom. So it's very much an interactive and immersive experience that way. So lots of different places that people with an addiction counseling diploma can work. Our grads find work in treatment centers, recovery centers, provincial health programs. Alberta Health Services is one of the big employers for people that work in the addictions field. And what you would do with them, of course, depends on your level of education and what job opportunities are available. We also find our grads work in family and youth centers and women's shelters, and that's kind of to name a few. It's a fairly broad area, actually. And again, we find sometimes our grads, they might work in addictions for a while, and then they go work in another kind of sector for a while, another place, and maybe, they sort of look at expanding their resume and their experiences that way. In terms of, because people ask all the time, well, what types of jobs are available after graduating? And that honestly depends on where you live, is one of the factors in determining what type of job you will get. with a diploma education. So sometimes rural versus urban settings look very different in terms of what they're looking for education to hire people. And it also depends on the type of job, the level of entry that the person comes in, all those sorts of things. So these are some of the places we find a lot of our grads, at least, that do get jobs. Treatment centers, community service agencies. John Howard Society is a big organization that supports our college, supports our practicum students year after year after year. Shelters and detox centers. Some of our grads work in schools, for instance. Child and youth workers, mental health support workers, group home settings. So quite a big scope in terms of employment opportunities. So again, you know, sometimes people go, well, where exactly can I work? And I don't know exactly because, like I said, the requirements for certain jobs might look very different far south or far north, or you know, smaller centers, bigger centers, those sorts of things. Transferability. I'm just keeping my eye on the time. Transferability. Some credits from the Addiction Counselling Diploma may be transferable into other programs at Northern Lakes College, such as social work and practical nurse. I'm also the coordinator for the social work program, so maybe I'll give an example with that. Sometimes some of our students will do a 2-year diploma in social work, and then they go, oh, you know what, I really want to do that more expertise focused education, and they do the addiction counseling program after. I should have actually counted, but I think there's like 8 courses in the social work diploma that transfer into the addiction counseling. So that would be 8 less courses a person would have to do. Or conversely, the other way. Some students start in the addiction counseling diploma and they graduate, and then they decide, oh, you know what, I think I want to go continue my education and do a social work diploma. So same thing, some of those courses transfer in across both programs. And the university credit, the university courses are also transferable to some of not only Northern Lakes College, but to other institutions in Alberta. So the university credits, those are university studies courses. So those are things like English, psychology, sociology, those sorts of things. And I'll talk in a few minutes in terms of our program and what that looks like, and show you which ones are addictions and which one are university studies courses. This is going to start to get into a little bit of the working full-time, part-time, and you know how we deliver our program. We use a combination. On our website it says anytime, anywhere. What that really means is we're an online program. So students that take our diploma program, all of their courses across the board are online. So you get to take school from home. Like, how lovely is that? I work from home, so I'm an advocate for this, you know, doing school in your sweats. But that's what that means. It means that we're an online program, and so all the classes are done online at home with your computer. And so access to a good computer, high-speed internet, a good connection is key to be able to attend the classes. We use different software for different things and train you on it and all that sort of thing. When the college talks about, I can't remember the words it uses now, I'm sorry, anytime, anywhere, a blended model of education. What they're talking about there is the practicum component of this program. The practicum is not online, it's an in-person. So that's what we mean by blended. So all the classes are online, the practicum is done in person. And I'll talk about that when I talk about the program in just a few minutes here. Admission requirements, this information is all on our college website. You must be 18 years of age at the time that you're starting your practicum. We don't typically have 17-year-olds start our program, but you need to be 18 by the time that you're entering our practicum in the spring term. And there's an English requirement. And talking about if you have previous education, that you have those transcripts sent in with your application. And that's really important because when I talked earlier about transferability, if you've done, say, a degree or a diploma or a different higher level of education at another institution, we can assess your previous education to see if there's any credits that we can transfer into the program. So for instance, if you've taken another diploma somewhere and you've got a good mark in English, then we might be able to take your English into the program so you don't have to do the English course, for instance. Applications are online. Applications must be submitted at least 4 weeks prior to the term start date. I should just take that out because our program gets full. We do work on a first come, first served basis. So I always tell people when they call me, if they're interested in the program, to apply sooner than later. And what we do is once our program fills up, we start a wait list. And so even getting on the wait list is a good thing because sometimes someone will give up their seat and then we'll go to the wait list to fill that seat. So I think that I think we might even be full for the September start. We do usually fill up fairly. We're a pretty popular program. But we usually have a handful of people in this program for whatever reason that give up their seats. So if you're interested, I really would suggest that you apply as early as possible. I need to change my screen just so I can see. I'm taking away my chat to be able to do that. So maybe just shout out if you need anything versus using the chat. I'll make full screen. There we are. Okay, so this is kind of an overview of our program. It is a 2-year diploma program. Both of you asked about part-time versus full-time. Can you do the program part-time? Yes, absolutely. Within the program itself, it's made up of a compilation of addiction core courses and university studies courses. And so again, those university studies courses are things like English, psychology, sociology, political science, the ones that are listed on the slide here. So there's some differences in terms of the addiction counseling courses and the university studies courses, even in terms of, I guess, how you take those courses. So the addiction counseling courses, it gets a little complicated. I'll start with the university courses. The university courses, although they're online, you don't need to attend them. And so what that means is there are live classes every week, but if you, and we encourage students to attend them, but a lot of our students, like Jennifer said, hey, I work full time, sometimes can't go to those classes. So what they do is they listen to the class recordings instead. So you're still responsible to do all the assignments at the time that they need to be submitted and all that sort of thing, but the classes aren't mandatory to attend. There's 8 addiction counseling courses throughout the 2 years of the program. Those are those core counseling classes, and those classes are mandatory to attend. But with that said, our program is set up for, I shouldn't say it's set up for people that work, but it sure works nicely, that half of those courses are asynchronous, meaning you don't have, there is no class. So you would just, all the work is there and you kind of work through it, and there's an instructor attached to the class if you need help with anything, but there's no class to attend. The other counseling classes that carry mandatory attendance are in the evening. So you can see it set up really nicely for people that want to take the program part-time, or if they want to take the program full-time, but they're working. What becomes tricky sometimes, especially for people that do work full-time or even want to take the course part-time, is there's 2 practicums, there's 2 field placements. So there's one in the first year of the program and there's one in the second year of the program. They run in the spring term. So what happens is in the fall and the winter there's classes, and in the spring is a practicum. And that's the first year of the program. And then the second year, in the fall and the winter, there's classes, and the second year in the spring term, there's a practicum. The practicum's full-time. So it's a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, no wiggle room. So it is a full-time commitment. So even if you take our program part-time, that spring term will be full-time for the practicum. The practicum is 240 hours, so about 6 weeks. So we leave that for students to manage how they need to manage. I know a lot of our students might take a leave of absence, for instance, or they take vacation, or however they do that, if they also have work obligations. Yeah. So these are a list of all of the courses. The ones on the left are all of the addiction counseling courses, and the ones on the right are the university studies courses. So I just put that up there because sometimes people like to know, what the program kind of looks like in terms of the courses. All of this is on the website. On the website, there's also, I don't know if you've been on there and played around, but the fees and tuition are listed there. You can probably see books from last year, all that sorts of things. So, but I just wanted to give you a quick look at some of the courses. So I talked about this briefly. Some courses are synchronous, meaning there's a live class that you need to attend, and some of the addiction classes are asynchronous, meaning there is no class. So for instance, I'm just going to look at fall for the first year. There's 2 addiction core courses. One is Introduction to Addiction Studies. That's in the fall. So that's an asynchronous course. Plus in the fall, you would take Introduction to Counseling Skills, and that's a synchronous course. So there's only 2 addiction courses in the fall of the first year of the program, and only one of them has a class, and a class that you need to attend, and it's in the evening. So it's kind of set up that way all the way through. If you look at the winter, it's the same thing. Year 2, the fall is the same thing, and the winter in year 2, it's the same thing. And then again, in the practicum in the spring is live, and they're live. They're in person. And I think there's only one class actually with the practicum. Sometimes people ask me, well, if I take this program and I graduate, and what kind of job might I get, as well as what would the compensation look like? And so I took this off the Government Alberta website. Right now it's looking at $16 to $29 an hour as kind of starting position with this type of diploma. And kind of conditions to work, I suppose, are like any other agency, except that you would probably need to have a criminal check done, because you would be working with vulnerable people, whether that's adults or children. And also if you're working with children, chances are they would ask for a vulnerable children or a child care check as well. We do ask students that enter our program if they have a criminal record, and it's just a yes or no tick box. And the reason that we ask that question is because it's not a barrier to being in our program, but it's a piece of information that we use when we look at practicum placements for students. Some of our settings will not take students that do have a criminal record. And so what we do is we go out and find a different type of placement for them. We don't want students going in. We send students on compatibility interviews. We don't want students and agencies to be going through a compatibility interview when we know that the student's not going to be accepted in the end. That's not good for anyone. So, criminal record, not a barrier to entering the program, but it is something you may be asked to produce for your practicum. And I just put a couple of websites on here in terms of to get more information about a career with addiction counseling. And so there's the Job Bank and Alberta. Is it ALIS? Is that how you say it? ALIS. It's ALIS. And so they have blurbs, little videos in there in terms of kind of a life in the day and what to expect in terms of employment opportunities. 6:34, I did pretty good. So information, I'm Denise Smith. I'm the coordinator of the Addiction Counseling Program. So my email and my telephone number is there. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about the program that you want clarified. And I also have the admissions specialist, Jennifer Allison's contact information on the bottom of the slide. She's the person that you would go to if you had any questions about the application process or how to apply or those sorts of things. And you can apply online, www.northernlakescollege.ca for free today. And just one thing I wanted to mention, which I forgot to put in the slides. Some of our students, they have an aim to come into our program, say in September, but they want to get started a little early. We only do intakes in September. But the university studies department, so they're the ones that do that psychology, English, sociology, they do intakes in the fall, the winter, the spring, and the summer. So we find that some of our students, what they do is they apply to the university studies program, and they can get started on those university studies courses and get them done before they come into our addiction counseling diploma. So it's a way to kind of get a head start to sort of lessen your load once you're in the program. And we find students do that too. If they don't, say, get in the year they want to, they often start in the university studies department. And so they're not kind of waiting. They can get started at least. So that is me. That is my spiel. I wanted to open it up if you had any questions about anything. I can see on my camera it's getting darker and darker. Turn some lights on. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you for coming, both of you. I'm glad you're here. And so hopefully that was informative. And yeah, thanks for dropping by. Bye.